Today I'm going to be replacing some faucets. That's up next here on Bud's Odd Jobs. The two faucets that I need to replace are my kitchen faucet and also my downstairs bathroom faucet. I'm using Moen on both of these faucets. I'm not paid by Moen to talk about them, but just a few comments. You know, I've used Moen over the years, found Moen to be excellent in durability. They are no maintenance types of faucets that keep their luster. And just to show you as proof, I put faucets in my upstairs bathroom when I did the remodel in there. Approximately 6 years, going almost 7 years now, and they look as good as they did when I put them in. They just hold up real well. The other impressive thing is that they do not skimp on materials. For instance, if you consider the bathroom faucet here, fairly small fixture. The weight of the materials here, when I pick it up, it's impressive of how heavy it is. So they don't skimp on materials. A lot of these faucets you buy nowadays have a lot of plastic in them. That's fine, but you know, the reason I'm replacing the sink faucet that I have in there now is because the place where the handle that you pull out, the faucet part that you pull out, the area where it receives that cracked eventually, and I had to do this fix here where I put a clamp around just to hold it in the meantime until I get a chance to replace it. Well, today I'll replace the bathroom faucet. I'll probably do a separate video on the kitchen faucet. They're a little bit different in installation. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So the faucet that I'll be replacing today is in the downstairs bathroom. This faucet is a little dated. It has a little bit of corrosion on the bottom, and I don't know if you can notice there, it is dripping. And I did take this apart and see if I could clean it up a little bit, but I couldn't get it to stop dripping. Plus, being dated and everything, we just decided we'd go ahead and replace it. The new Moen faucet that I'll be installing came with all the necessary parts, including the drain kit assembly. Everything was neatly wrapped, and everything is of high quality. Okay, the first step is you want to shut off water. And by the way, if you do not have shutoffs under your sinks, I highly recommend that you install those. It makes the job much easier when you have to do a faucet change like this. You don't have to cut water to the entire house just to focus on the one repair. So to turn these off, you simply turn them a quarter turn clockwise. And to test to make sure they're off, I would recommend turn the faucet on, which I'm doing right now. And I'm getting no water out of the spigot, so that's a good sign. Okay, next you want to remove the water supply hoses at the top by the faucet. When you're going to do this, I'd recommend you put a towel on to line the bottom of the cabinet, like I've done here. In addition to that, I found a shallow pan that I'm going to stick in there to catch any water that may drain from those pipes so I don't ruin the base of my cabinet. Okay, to aid in the removal of the supply lines, I'll be using this basin wrench. This head on the wrench swivels to allow you to get up in tight spaces at a 45-degree angle, and the clamp mechanism is spring-loaded so that it just naturally clamps on it and aids in turning those nuts off up in tight spaces. So I'd highly recommend this type of wrench, and I'll leave a link in the description. Okay, my lines are detached, and as you can see, there was some water that came from the line, so it's good to have that catch band down there. Okay, so the next step is to remove these retaining nuts. These are the nuts that hold the faucet in place.
Those get turned counterclockwise. I'll use my basin wrench to remove those. And due to space limitations, I'll probably do that off camera. And once I get those off, then we'll move to the next step. So let's get those off. So those are very easy to loosen with the basin wrench. So I just need to spin those off. Alright, with those off, next I need to remove the drain plunger mechanism. Small wrench to remove this adjusting bolt, and then we'll be able to lift that faucet out. So with the 3/8 wrench, we can turn that off. Go up top and pull that stem out. So with the stem out, you could hear that piece drop down. So the drain assembly mechanism is removed. So just a word of advice, there is the parts that I removed from the drain assembly. I have a bin or bins in the garage for plumbing, electrical, and I typically keep parts that are in good shape. You never know when you might need a repair part. So if they're in good condition, no reason to throw them away. You might want to keep those parts as spares. Okay, with everything unassembled below, this piece should then rock right off, which it does. And what you want to do is take a putty knife and clean off this area so that it receives the new faucet. Okay, to remove this drain, we have two pieces that we need to take off. I have a pipe wrench that I got secured to the basin and the nut against the basin. So I'm going to use that to turn that off. Oops. Sorry about moving the camera there, but it's loose. And then this other one should hand turn. Yep. Alright. So we just need to continue to loosen the upper nut here. Okay, those are loose. Okay, with those off, loose, you want to twist this entire neck, to unscrew it from the inside of the drain, which is on top. So I suspect that's turning up there, so I'll need to hold that as I turn it. I'll be right back once I get that loose. Okay, so we got that turned off. This should come out. So that is off. This should drop down. So we'll take that down and get ready to reinsert the new one. Okay, so here are the former parts of the drain, which I'll keep as, you know, just in case I need to repair a drain at some point in the future. This is still in really good shape. So these two parts, you can see the washer here snugs up against the bottom of the basin. This, you can see some of the residual plumber's putty, which needs to be applied when you insert this drain. And then this is the part that slides down into the drain pipe. There's a washer here, and this tightens it against the washer so that there's no leakage. Also, this is the part that takes this the drain plug up and down. So this would insert here like so, and then I don't know if you can see in there, but there's the little hole that's received, so that this is how the mechanism works, where the drain goes up and down. There's typically a gasket. I don't seem to have that here. that would help seal this. But then this is tightened against the gasket, and that's basically how you pull the plunger up and down. Okay, with all the pieces out of the way, I'm just going to clean up my drain here to get it ready to receive the new parts, and then we'll go ahead and assemble. Okay, this is the new drain assembly. This would go up like this. This washer would seat against the basin, and this nut would tighten it up then in place. What you first want to do is put plumber's putty on the drain. This is the drain that seats in here. That's to keep it from leaking. Then you would reinsert this up through and then tighten it. Okay, and then once that's in place, then you can snug this up in place against the basin to further protect from leakage from the basin itself. This comes off, and as I mentioned, there is a small washer in here. You see it right there inside. So that washer sits in there and receives this so that you seal it good. So once the drain is in place, you can insert the drain plug, and if you see it come down through, there's the hole that would receive the end here. And what I like about this is these typically rust off after time, but they put a lot of thought in this. With this nylon tip here, that's not going to rust over time, and it'll continue to operate the plunger well. Then this piece is the piece that, depending on the length of the sink, gets inserted here, and then the top portion would clamp onto the rod that extends through the fixture so that you can move it up and down. So here's my plumber's putty. As you can see, I keep it in a plastic bag so that it doesn't dry out. I seal it actually within a bag within a bag. That way it keeps the plumber's putty moist so it won't harden. We'll get some of that out, and I'll show you how to roll that into a nice rope. Okay, you want to take a good amount of putty and then just kind of roll it in your hands like so, and get a nice bead like this. Take that, form that bead around the ring, take off any excess, make sure it's compacted tightly, and just insert that down into the drain, putting quite a bit of pressure on there to squeeze any excess out. And you can just clean that off when you're done and you're ready to insert the bottom. Now the drain comes with a piece that will extend down into the main drain. That just screws in here tightly. Depending on the distance between your basin and the drain itself, in some cases you may need to cut this to length. In my case, I think this length is perfect. Other cases, if you have a longer stretch for some reason, you may need to purchase an extension that's a little bit longer than this. Yeah, so let's go ahead and put this in place. Okay, to secure the new piece to the drain, I'm going to use the former nut and washer. We'll just reinsert this on, and then once I get this inserted in the drain tube, then we can tighten that down. First I'll attach the top portion of it and tighten that up, and making sure that this the drain mechanism, the drain plug mechanism, is in the back when I tighten everything up. Okay, so I've twisted the piece in so it's now secured to the drain at top all I need to do is snug this down. Again, doing this with one hand, so it's a little difficult, but being mindful that when you're done and you tighten, that the drain toggle is in the back. So, and then once I get that tight, I will move this down in place and tighten this as well. Like so. And we should be good to go on the drain part. Okay, I got this nice and snug. I used a pipe wrench on that. I had a crescent wrench, but it didn't quite open wide enough to receive that. It's just a matter of tightening this down. Okay, we got that snug. All right, we're ready to set the faucet. So the first step on installing the faucet is to put the faucet in place with the provided gasket, like so. The next step will be to take the faucet retaining nuts and put those up underneath and tighten them to secure the faucet in place. When doing this, just want to make sure that your faucet is lined up correctly before you tighten it down completely. Okay, so the next step is that you want to reattach your supply lines. You want to make sure to get these good and snug, so I'll use my basin wrench to tighten those. Okay, with your supply lines secured, next you want to charge your supply lines by opening up your valves, and then you want to check just to make sure there's no leaks. So at this point, I'm going to drop in place the drain mechanism, and we're going to go underneath. We'll be attaching this to that drain pole, and then we can insert the drain assembly. Okay, so I went ahead and attached this, but let it loose. I'm going to insert the drain mechanism in. And so that appears to be a little long. It won't let me insert that. So I'm going to have to cut that off a little shorter, and I'll be right back. With the nut on here in place, insert this in, and before you tighten it completely, make sure that it properly hit the drain hole. So we'll go up and check. So it appears that I engaged the drain plug. So with confirmed that the drain plug, it's connected to the drain plug, then we can tighten this. Okay. And with that confirmed, next we want to put that clip on there so we hold it steady. Okay, we'll just make sure this is good and snug. Got my clip on here. So it looks like we're ready to go. Let's go up and check it. Okay, with everything reassembled, we'll go ahead and check my drain assembly, and that appears to be working fine. So as a final check, I'm going to go ahead and fill this basin up with water. And in doing so, we'll crawl underneath one last time and make sure that everything is good and tight. If you find this content useful, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe. There's a lot of good content on this channel, a lot more good content to come. And also, when you subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell. That will ensure that you get notice anytime I put in new video content. Hey, thanks for watching today. See you next time.